Meet Kurosu. He's a shut-in NEET who feels like he has no more meaning in life, so he decides to take the only way he can think out. But in a shocking twist of fate and in the most unexpected way possible, he ends up finding his meaning for life, and that's this Peephole. This is a pretty interesting manga, and I thought it would just be pretty fun to read off the first volume of it and just kind of share my experience of what I felt reading through it. So let's just take a look into this manga and look into what the first volume has to offer. The first thing that you need to know is Kurosu here, he is not the smartest guy. Like I mentioned before, he's a shut-in NEET and he just feels like life is no longer worth living, so he decides to commit exit game. But you would think that he would do that from the ceiling or some way other, but nope, he decides to attach a belt to a hook on the wall held in by just two simple Phillips head screws. But who would have thought, putting that much faith and trust into this little hanger with the belt tied around it, it ends up breaking off the wall and he comes tumbling to the ground. But after finally regaining his senses and realizing what happens, he sees that there's now a little hole in the wall and he can see through it to the other side. So of course he decides to put his eye against it and see what he can see on the other side, and he sees a girl. A pretty attractive girl. And so of course someone who felt like they had no meaning in life, all of a sudden he finds this meaning to spy on her and see what she does throughout the day. He watches her as she's eating, as she's lounging around, as she's cooking, cleaning, and also as she's doing other type of activities. Now at this point, he's a complete stalker of her. It's over a month by and he knows her exact schedule, when she should be home, and he finds his meaning in waiting to spy on this girl. But then one day during his normal spying session, he sees this strange man come up behind her and attack her and punch her and all of a sudden throw her on the bed. He doesn't know what to do. Should he call the cops or what's going on? He has to stop him. He has to save her. But then all of a sudden, wait, what? Next thing he sees these murderous eyes as she stands on top of him with a box cutter, cutting this man to death. Witness to something truly gruesome. Now this is just the first chapter of the book, and I have to say, if you think you already know where the plot's going, I guarantee you almost don't, because it's going to have so many twists and turns, so just bear with me as we keep going through it. So following the, let's say, interesting event of the first chapter, Kurosu ends up passing out because, I mean, he did see something pretty shocking, who wouldn't? So in one day walking through the halls, he ends up meeting this girl, and he's pretty taken aback. I mean, he's pretty scared of this girl, but after some small talk, she decides to be a little bit friendly and invite him in for a meal. And I mean, this guy has nothing better to do, so why not go in and see what's going on? So they just make a little bit of small talk. He ends up finding out that she's just living alone and he's just kind of chowing down on his food. He makes sure to look over and see where his peephole is, and he can see it's a little bit noticeable, but not too much there. But of course he decides to go into the bathroom, and that's when she gives him this stare. Yeah, at this point she's being so friendly that he almost thinks what he saw is just a delusion, but little does he know, as he's using the restroom behind the shower curtains is proof of really what happened. But then he decides to go back home, and he lets her know that if she's ever in trouble, please let him know, as if he would do anything really to stop this. But like I mentioned, this is not the smartest guy. He just cannot refrain from looking in this peephole. So he's going to keep looking and spying on her. Even though he knows that he shouldn't, he just cannot refrain until one day he ends up seeing it again, almost a parallel to what happened before. This is when he gets the confirmation that what he saw was not a hallucination, as he sees her murdering another character with these evil eyes. And at this point, he finally does something smart, and he decides, I'm gonna close this up. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I'm done looking through this peephole. But I mean, what would be an interesting story if it ended like that? So this time she decides to come over and cook at his place, as her place is, what she says, a little bit messy. I wonder why. And he's basically in denial at this point. He does not want to believe what's going on, but I mean, what he's seeing is real, and he sees time and time again that she lures men into this room, and as soon as they get into the mood and want to grab on her, that moment she'll paralyze them with some sort of weird drug and then take out this little box cutter and just slice them up to pieces. And one day, of course, like I mentioned, dumb main character, as he's peeking through watching this murder scene, his phone drops to the ground, and she turns around quickly and notices him. He messed up bad, and he sees as she stares right directly back at him through the peephole. So now at this point, you would think that he would be pretty scared of her. I mean, he just caught her in the act of murdering, and when his doorbell rings and he sees her there, you would think he'd be calling the cops or something, but nope, he's dumb. He lets her into his house, and instead of asking him to do anything or attacking him, she just asks him to accept her. And for some reason, he thinks that this is like some invitation to do stuff to her, or she's confessing his love. So he pounces on top of her, and then she says, "You better stop or else I'll kill you." And if there's anyone to believe with that, I would think that that would be her. His life actually starts to turn up for a little bit better. He finally gets a job. He finally talks to a little bit of friends, and everyone sees him with this girl, and they're wondering, yo, bro, how did you bag this girl? Because you got no riz at all. But somehow, some way, the Shut In Neat did it. But really what they know is that she's a murderer and he's a guy who doesn't want to live. So they actually do fit pretty well, but it gets a lot more complex than that. And so after they start dating for a while, one night they're out late and he happens to see her murder someone in a dark alley. And this is the first time that she's actually killed someone outside of her home. And even worse, there was a witness to this one. So let's see if this guy comes back. So after that little occurrence, they end up going to a baseball game on a date because, I mean, why not? And I don't know why, for some reason during this baseball date, as they're sitting around a bunch of people, he finally decides to break the ice and start asking her like, yo, why are you killing the people? Why are you doing all this? Not to mention they're literally around a bunch of people just having this deep conversation as she explains why she likes killing people and equating it to basically that's the reason why you're alive and it's to live. And I'm just thinking, is nobody else around just hearing this? Like, I know it's a baseball game, there's a lot of noise, but okay. And then all of a sudden you see this panel.
Whoop. Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh.
Now, I just have to say, when I first saw this panel, I was almost taken aback because I have seen this for so many years and I read this manga with not even knowing that this was from this. I literally found this manga because I was looking for manga related to DeadTube, and all of a sudden I see this meme that I've known for so long. It was so funny. Oh, and not to mention, for some reason, he gets turned on while he's listening to her talk about all these controversial things about why she likes to kill. So yeah, this guy definitely has some problems. So after returning to the normal day-to-day activity of him just spying on his now girlfriend killing people, he ends up noticing that she's about to kill someone that he actually knows, and this is actually the guy that was spying on her. And after debating if he should save him or not, and then trying to yell at her to stop, she ends up doing it anyways. I mean, he's across the room, so she ends up killing him, but for some reason he thinks, well, let me just go in there to see if this really did happen. And of course he sees his dead body on the ground, but that's not all he finds, because he also happens to find basically her death note, in which she has a quote-unquote kill list, basically a death note, of a bunch of people that she wants to kill, and at the bottom he sees his own name. For some reason causes him to have like some extraterrestrial out-of-body experience as he's thinking about what life means and the true meaning of what it means to live. And all of a sudden he finds himself next to this dead body in a moving vehicle in the trunk of it as it's driving away. After this short little Uber trip for him, he ends up tied up to a chair with this girl standing above him who's naked, by the way, with two weird guys with masks on their face. And he's like, how did I get here? What happened? Which I have to say, with all this been going on with his quote-unquote girlfriend, like, if something weird happens, I don't think he can really be that surprised, but he wants to act all surprised about this. Oh, and remember when I said, if you think you know what's gonna happen, you probably can't guess what's gonna happen, because he sees a naked woman in front of him, but at the same time, he's not turned on in the slightest, because this isn't a woman, it's actually a man, because yeah, her thing is right directly in his face and he doesn't seem too happy about that. And she dances around in her naked body and he's like, no, cover this up, I don't want to see that, even though, I mean, she's basically a woman just aside from the bottom. But anyway, she decides to just put on a trench coat as if that makes it any better, I guess. We start to learn a little bit more about why these killings are happening as she decides to explain that all of these killings and all these bodies she's been receiving, that she makes living furniture out of them. As in, she literally takes the skeletal remains of these people that are killed to make furniture, because, I mean, I guess if you're super rich, why not just buy a chair made out of human bones instead of a normal chair? I don't really know what the market is for this. I mean, I know there's a black market, but yeah, that's her thing, I guess. And then also, as she's explaining all this and she starts talking about maybe killing the guy, she gets aroused by it, I guess, and he's not too happy about that. I mean, he's not having a good day, but I guess, I mean, it's better than what was going to happen in the beginning. So after kind of explaining that his girlfriend takes people in and kills them, and then she takes the corpses and guts them, sells them on the black market, and decides to use the bones for living furniture, she then decides, well, he's a living corpse, I guess, so let's go ahead and kill him. And she decides to turn him into Jesus Christ and nail him almost to the cross, but it's really just this chair that he's in. But of course, right before he ends up getting killed, his girlfriend of course stops it, and she's like, yo, wait, that's my guy to kill, that's my boyfriend, you can't do this. And that's where I'm gonna have to go ahead and stop it for now. Honestly, I just thought this was a pretty funny manga as I was reading it, and it'd be kind of cool to talk about. So if you really like this story so far, and if you want me to make a part 2, definitely just leave a comment or like this video. I definitely read all the comments, and I appreciate all the support I've been getting so far, and I would love to keep making videos like this, reading manga and kind of explaining them. So if you like this, definitely let me know if you want part 2. I can continue the series because it only gets more wild and wild as it goes on, and this is just a pretty funny manga. So I just wanted to thank everybody who watches this video and makes it to the end. So you guys are awesome. Keep it up. Thank you so much.